We always say on this show, 2 minutes literally can change.
Long before anyone could fully understand what was happening on that brightly lit AGT stage, a single performance sent a ripple through millions of screens across the country. It wasn't just the voice, it wasn't just the personality. It was something far more complicated, a force so magnetic that half the audience cheered in awe while the other half paused, unsure of what they had just witnessed. Behind the applause and the shock, behind the colorful energy and the fearless expression, something deeper was unfolding, a divide that would turn Jourdan Blue into one of the most talked about contestants of his season. And as fans argued late into the night, very few realized that the moment people were reacting to so intensely was only the beginning, because what the world saw on stage was only a fraction of the story. His path began far from the neon lights of national television. Jourdan grew up in a world where music wasn't just a talent, it was sanctuary. Those who knew him from childhood recall a kid who would disappear into melodies to escape the noise around him. There were struggles, of course. Life placed hurdles early, shaping a spirit that learned to turn pain into performance. He admired vocal giants, studying how emotion could become sound. Even then, he was different. He didn't just sing, he created a world around every note. Some called it dramatic, others called it raw. What no one realized was that these early sparks, the passion, the intensity, the refusal to blend in, would one day become both his greatest strength and his most controversial trait. But before America ever judged him, before fans fell in love or turned away, he had already learned how hard it was to stand out. Yet the moment that pushed him onto the national stage carried far more weight than anyone imagined, because long before the judges pressed their buzzers, a far quieter storm had begun brewing around his name. His audition was unforgettable, not because it was perfect, but because it was unmistakably him. Jourdan didn't hold back, not in his tone, not in his presence, not in the way he seemed to command the room with a mix of boldness and vulnerability. Viewers felt something. Some felt excitement, others felt confusion, but no one felt nothing. Within hours, clips of his audition spread across social platforms. Edits, reactions, fan-made tributes, his rise was instant, and so was the divide. Supporters saw authenticity, a performer unafraid to embrace color, emotion, and theatrality. They admired his voice, his stage presence, his courage to be loud in a world that often demands silence. But as his visibility skyrocketed, so did the scrutiny. The brighter the light grew around him, the darker the shadows behind him became. And those shadows were only getting started. Sudden spotlight comes with a price. As his videos continued to circulate, comment sections turned into ongoing debates. Many praised his bravery and individuality, calling him a breath of fresh air in a competition often filled with predictable acts. But others struggled to accept his energetic intensity, questioning whether his theatrical style belonged on a stage known for more traditional vocals. Rumors started swirling, tiny sparks scattered across social media. Some viewers insisted he was too much, while others defended him fiercely. His expressions, his gestures, even his wardrobe choices became talking points, dissected by people who had never met him. And behind those screens, Jourdan watched as admiration intertwined with criticism, creating a tension he hadn't expected so soon. But the moment that truly ignited the uproar hadn't happened yet, because the performance that changed everything was still waiting just beyond the curtain. When that night came, he stepped onto the stage with the same intensity that had defined him since childhood. But this time, everything hit harder: the lighting, the vocals, the emotional punch of the song. The performance was dramatic, unapologetic, and undeniably loud in personality. Fans loved it. They called it electric, fearless, unforgettable. But others felt overwhelmed. They accused him of being over the top. Memes spread, edits circulated, and the performance became both a symbol of uniqueness and a target for criticism. It wasn't the song that sparked the uproar. It was the way he performed it, the gestures, the passion, the theatrical flair. What many saw as self-expression, others saw as excess. The divide sharpened, the conversations grew louder, and Jourdan, unknowingly, became a lightning rod for one of the most polarizing moments of the season. Yet even then, the biggest twist had not emerged, because what surfaced afterward would push the division to an entirely new level. After that performance, the internet caught fire. Out-of-context clips started circulating, snippets pulled from longer interviews, fragments of backstage moments edited in ways that painted different stories. Some misunderstood his humor. Others twisted his confidence into something else entirely. What was meant to be passion looked like arrogance to a few viewers, and what was meant to be vulnerability looked like theatrics to others. Comment sections became battlegrounds. Supporters defended him passionately, insisting he brought something refreshing and necessary to the show. Critics doubled down, claiming he overshadowed his own talent with personality. Fan accounts clashed. Threads stretched for hours. Narratives got distorted. Those close to him hinted that the noise took an emotional toll. Overnight attention can be overwhelming, especially when mixed with misunderstanding. But Jourdan kept performing, kept showing up, kept giving the stage everything he had.
Still, the most staggering twist wasn't the backlash. It was who decided to speak up next. People yang had worked beside him began to speak. Fellow contestants shared stories about how kind and encouraging he was backstage. Some judges hinted publicly that his boldness was part of what made him unforgettable. Industry friends praised his consistency, his work ethic, and willingness to take risks that most performers avoided. Insiders described him as someone who cared deeply, sometimes too deeply, about his craft. Someone yang took criticism seriously but didn't allow it to silence his artistic identity. Those testimonies added new layers to the story, challenging the assumptions that had been spreading online. The more insiders defended him, the more fans reconsidered what they thought they knew. And slowly, a different picture began to form, one far more complex than the narratives circulating on social media. But even with this wave of support, something heavier was quietly unfolding behind the scenes, and it was only a matter of time before it surfaced. Every public figure reaches a moment when the noise becomes too loud. For Jourdan, the pressure rose quickly. The expectations, the emotional weight, the non-stop evaluations from strangers, the split fan base, the praise that lifted him high, and the criticism that cut just as deep. Reports suggested he struggled privately with the intensity of the spotlight, that he took long breaks from social media.
That he questioned his choices more than fans realized. Fame, especially sudden fame, can reshape a person's inner world, and for him, it forced a quiet reckoning with his own identity. There were nights, insiders whispered, when he pulled back from everything, music, posts, interaction, simply to breathe again, to find center, to remember why he started singing in the first place. But silence never lasts forever, and when he finally re-emerged, what he expressed stunned everyone watching. When Jourdan returned to public view, he came back stronger, not louder, not softer, just clearer. He spoke about authenticity, self-expression, and the courage to be seen fully, even when others misunderstand. Fans realized something they had missed. Every gesture, every note, every dramatic flair was part of who he truly was. Not strategy, not exaggeration, simply identity. For his supporters, this made them love him even more. They saw him as a symbol of self-confidence and individuality, someone who refused to dim himself to fit the mold, someone who turned polarization into power. For critics, however, the divide lingered. Some viewers still disagreed with his style. Some still preferred more traditional performers. And that's what made him so unique. He existed at the intersection of admiration and discomfort. Jourdan Blue didn't aim to be universally liked. He aimed to be real. And in a world where authenticity is often the rarest quality on stage, that alone made him unforgettable. Loved by many, questioned by others, but undeniably himself. And that, more than anything else, is what made his journey both explosive and extraordinary.